Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Mary Beth at the Law of Attraction Club on the web at theloaclub.com. This is our Saturday hangout on air, and on these hangouts we collaborate with our friends Attr. This hangout is the summary of our theme for the week and continues with our Q&A on our member conference line. You can get invites to our open calls, which we offer about once a month, and our free letting go process by going to theloaclub.com. So now we welcome Robin and Attr.
Welcome to this intersection of minds, our mind and your minds, in which we once again explore this principle you call the law of attraction. And as a vehicle for engaging in this topic, here are what we would describe as some of the most common myths about it. 1. It's just one of many other cosmic, ancient, universal, etc. laws. 2. It responds to my now conscious energy, focus, and attention. 3. It takes time to create things. There's an inbuilt manifestational lag. 4. It works more powerfully when many people focus together. 5. It doesn't take away the need for action. That is hard work. 6. It takes a lot of internal work to master. As we head into discussing some of these popular misconceptions, we'll be exploring with you once again the fundamental way in which everything works, including the law of attraction. Is it important to know all of this? Not necessarily. You can always choose to reach for that better feeling thought, and if you do, you'll do very well. But it helps you to make that choice. Do you need to know how electricity works to use your toaster? No, and yet some knowledge is helpful. If it's not working, it's useful to know about the need to plug it in and into an outlet that has power, which means there needs to be power coming to the houses in your neighborhood. And so the story goes on. Knowing the basics of how things work helps you navigate your world. Now, does knowing the fundamentals of life and the law of attraction mean you'll be instantly creating everything you want? Once again, no. Knowing things intellectually doesn't necessarily translate into instant change to that deep-seated tapestry of expectations that is the blueprint for your creation. But it helps. And it helps in 2 ways. Firstly, with confidence. If you know you're on the right track, it's easier to keep your focus on what counts. And secondly, it gives you a basis for answering all your many and varied questions about life without being distracted by the stories that even many so-called gurus are inventing or repeating. So let's start with a law of attraction description as many would describe it. The concept is that you attract into your experience things that are a match to your vibration, and that your vibration is a function of how you think, and that how you think is a choice, and that therefore you can influence the events in your world by how you choose to think. Then the next question becomes, of course, how much can I actually change? And then, how do I actually make changes? To answer those questions, you have to decide for yourself what to believe about so-called reality. So let's look at your options. Option number 1, you exist on planet Earth, a physical space-time world that you're sharing with everybody else. It was here before you got here, and it will be here after you're gone. Now that the belief choice not might derive from the idea that some adhere to, that belief choice may derive from the idea that some adhere to that the physical world is all there is, or from the idea that some powerful non-physical entity, God, created it, or from the idea that you and the others that are here made a prior decision about it, and that you're here sharing it. And practically speaking, you're stuck with it. In this one's world, option one is a very prevalent assumption made by all manner of people, by most of the major religions, by spiritual masters, by atheists, and even by some law of attraction gurus. Now, in option one, think of the way you experience the world. It's through your physical senses, which translate light and sound, for example, into electrical impulses, which are interpreted by your brain. Things can be red or green, but there's nothing absolute about, for example, greenness. You have no way of knowing what you see as green is the same green anybody else sees. Think about that for a minute here. What you know as reality is a mental interpretation. Of course, most people seem to interpret reality in ways that are similar to you. Sufficiently similar that you ignore that it's a mental construct and just treat it as a physical fact that you all know about. You describe it and you tell stories about it and you are understood. So that's option one. But what if instead of there being a world out there you're mentally interpreting, what if your mind is actually creating the image from within? Once again, it's a mental construct. It's just that it's an internal creation, and the sensations you perceive as interaction with something physical are just the byproduct of that creation. Let's call this option two. And as with option one, it's a mental construct. It's just that the source is different. In option one world, you bump your knee against some physical object and it hurts. In the option two movie in your mind, you bump your knee and you experience the same interpretation of pain. Both options exist as valid belief choices, and there is no way, scientifically or otherwise, of proving one more valid than the other. It's just a choice you make. But we submit that there's a good reason why you might choose option two, and that is, it provides simple answers to questions that option one cannot answer. We submit that it's the theory of everything that your scientists have been striving to find. In an option one world, answers about life are convoluted and complex. By contrast, in option two world, the answers are, as you might expect source answers to be, elegantly simple. For example, let's look at the law of attraction. In an option one shared world, if you can harness the power of the law of attraction to create whatever you want, and you can, then so can those other people in your life. So it's obvious that you are up against their potentially different desires of how this shared world should be. So now the promise of the law of attraction becomes, there's nothing you cannot be, do, or have, except, of course, there's those prior agreements about this space-time world. So maybe changing any of that stuff isn't so easy. And if those others in your world want different things, because your desires are in competition with theirs, your task is now to somehow create harder or better than they are doing, or persuade them to agree with you. Good luck with both of those. And so can you see that once you start down that road, you've pretty much dismantled the law of attraction and opened up the story to all sorts of other ideas, such as in myth number 1 from our list above, that there are other ancient laws. In other words, the law of attraction has an effect, but there are many other factors. If you continue down that road, you end up with not much more than the concept that positive thinking, seeing the glass as half full, is generally better than the alternative. That's true, of course, but that concept by itself is hardly going to inspire you into making some fundamentally new choices, is it? If you want to see what the complexity of option 1 looks like, try Googling cosmic laws, but be prepared for some heavy reading. We understand how it is that your option 1 world seems so inherently, so self-evidently real. There's a reason for that. You and your world are an exact match to the tapestry of expectations that shapes you and it. That exact match is always going to be the most real feeling realm. But the truth is, there is no world out there. You're not a physical being in a physical world with a brain that does all the thinking. You're a thinking being in a thought-created world. You're a consciousness, an extension of the collective consciousness of all that is. Everything out there is an inside job. When you change that tapestry of expectations of yours by choosing a new belief, and you practice that belief into a new certainty, you step into a literally new version of you and your world, and everything and everyone you intersect with exactly matches that new tapestry. In our words, you attract into your experience a version of you and your context, unique to you, wanted or unwanted, instant by instant, which matches the tapestry of your chosen beliefs and expectations. In Abraham's words, everything that you perceive here in your physical environment is vibration, and the life you are living is your vibrational interpretation. The powerful law of attraction is at the root of everything you experience, and the stable, never-changing, always accurate premise of this law is that which is like unto itself is drawn. When you give thought to something, you begin the attraction process of the essence of that subject into your own life experience. Once you have activated a thought vibration within yourself by giving your attention to the subject, the progression of expansion occurs. From Bentinho Massaro. Law of attraction is, in its deepest sense, is you wanting to experience yourself. That's the impulse. That's how you are born, not just physically born, but individuated. Before you were born, you were individuated, and this life is a further crystallization of that individualization process of consciousness, of you emerging from the all that is consciousness. Law of attraction means that whatever you're vibrating of is what you'll attract into your life, is what you'll experience yourself as. This is all a soup of energy. This is the structure of energy that's held up by you. Can you see why we say calling it law of attraction hardly does justice to the fundamental alignment that defines everything everywhere in every realm that exists, be it yours or ours? This law is the foundation on which everything is built. All other laws or principles that have any validity to them are, by definition, simply derivations of the law of attraction. And the extra laws or sub-laws proposed are simply extrapolations of physical properties into non-physical principles. So while we're on a roll here, let's look at myth number 2 on our list. That the law of attraction responds to my now conscious focus. The old simple definition of the law was, you attract into your experience, wanted or unwanted, that which you give your energy, focus, and attention. And it's good as far as it goes. But when you woke up this morning, this moment-by-moment creation of yours, your world with its time and gravity and shapes and spaces, was there instantly, without, we suggest, much focus or attention. The secret is that what defines you and your world, what brings everything into your experience, is that expectation tapestry stored in your superconscious. Most of it, of course, you never bring into that foreground consciousness of yours, but you can. Creating what you want is all about changing that tapestry. It starts with your conscious choices. Everything that's there came from your previous conscious choices. Changing it starts with new and different conscious choices, and then making those new and different choices with sufficient focus and energy that they replace and change the fabric you want to change. We'll take the opportunity next week to go into the rest of those myths we listed. But let's wrap up today's discussion by coming back to that point we made at the start. You don't have to go into detail on how it all works. You can keep it very simple and know to always reach for that better and better feeling thought. And for some of you, that is enough. And then there are those who have questions about how can the world be this way or that way. If it's my world and my choice, I certainly wouldn't choose that. What you're saying is, I wouldn't want that or consciously choose it. But what you attract is not necessarily what you want. Simply know that it's your expectations that rule the day. Remember, you attract into your experience, unique to you, moment by moment, wanted or unwanted, that which matches the sum of your chosen beliefs and expectations. Then there are those of you who seek to know even more of the fundamentals of life and of everything. And it's to you that we offer a more complete picture, which can help you with those 2 big C's we've been talking about recently, clarity and confidence. We think about those 2 options we've talked about today because they define the foundation on which you're going to build the rest of your beliefs. Are you in a physical world that's out there, a world that existed before you got here and will exist after you're gone, a world that you agreed to come into and are somewhat constrained by? That's option 1. Or is it option 2? Is it truly an inside job? Is it you that's creating you and your world, a world that exists only as a virtual reality in your mind, a world that's yours to choose without limit? We submit that it's only in this option 2 world that you will find your answers. It's only in this world that the law of attraction exists. In this world, you can have, be, or do anything. In this world, you are limited only by your imagination, and that has no limits. So we say, think about option 2 and see if you can get your mind around the logic of it. Because once you do, you'll find all the puzzle pieces falling into place, and there'll never be a question that cannot be answered. Whatever you choose to believe becomes. Whatever choice you make, your world will conform. For each of you, the real test of all of this, of any of this, is always, how does it feel to you? If it feels good, latch onto it, because that feeling is telling you infallibly that you're heading in the direction of your desires. And the reverse, of course, is also true. So let's now move to our longer discussion and any questions you may have.
This Hangout on Air was the summary of our theme for the week. We do 3 live calls a week with questions and answers for our members on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. You can become a member by going to the loaclub.com/join. Our longer discussion continues now with Q&A on our member line.